Coach, thanks for joining me today on this Simple Coach to Coach interview. Really excited. I'm sporting the gear, the Chargers gear that looks so good on me. Appreciative of the gift and appreciative of your time. It's really, really do. So thank you.
No problem.
Hey, how do you think your season went to begin?
Yeah, that's
not an easy question after all.
It's not. It really isn't. It's every season is a journey, and it's so all consuming. So at the end, you kind of look back and sometimes you don't know for a while how to interpret what happened. And so that was probably the case this year more than ever. I do think it was one of our best seasons we've ever had. Maybe arguably the best level of soccer that we played ever. Maybe. I think we're in conversation about that. But disappointed at the end, I think, and the expectations were high because of the team that we had and I think the quality that we had within our conference and within to some degree within the region. So yeah, we achieved some things, but ultimately, that semifinal playoff loss will mark the season a little bit more than maybe I wanted it to, for sure. So, but it was overall, there was a lot of positives that I'm going to remember from the season, and so will the players, especially the seniors and grad students.
So what I was saying before the technical glitch is that I was looking at your season. And, I mean, you were 12-3-3 up until you get to the conference playoffs and then the NCCAA regional playoffs. And you're like on a roll. And then, I mean, you lost to Harrisburg 0-3 after tying them 3-3. And we'll talk about that. And then you lost to Cedarville, which I have some questions about. But yeah. But it is, like, I could totally see you, like, hey, we're doing really, this is great, and then sort of falling off a cliff, right? Like, at least just visually on what it looks like.
Yeah.
Before we talk about that, was there anything that surprised you on the positive side? Was there something that, obviously you mentioned the quality of the ball, and I know you like to play, right? Like you like to have the ball on the deck and you like to get your guys moving the ball. But was there anything else that sort of surprised you, whether it's individual performances or something about the team?
Yeah. Well, I think, and we talked last year, I guess, the project that I started last summer, even before the summer, but having a more unified identity, clear, simple, translatable to our conference and our level, not overly idealistic. So I think probably, and this might be normal for a lot of coaches, but this was probably the first time I experienced it. But limiting my ideas to fit into the model that we chose actually really helped with training sessions and preparation. And so we did the same training session ideas all season. It wasn't the same one every time, obviously, but we probably stuck to, it was probably 10 main exercises that we did. I mean, I could probably count them up looking back, but yeah, 10 exercises that we did, and we got really good at those, and we tweaked them to bring out different aspects for certain opponents and matchups and all that. And so that was different for me. Normally I had been more reactive and playing totally for the matchups and adjustments all the time. But this was a little bit more, this is how we're going to play, and here's what we're going to work on to get really good at.
Yeah, and let the opponent beat you, right? Like, hey, this is what we're doing, and we're going to do it really well. Go ahead, simplifying, yeah.
Yeah, I think practices were, it was totally game-like. I'm like huge on the tactical periodization. Mm-hmm. And, we would do some passing to warm up, and then we were just like playing like 100% and trying to replicate decision-making moments in each of there were the three things that we chose to focus on, and they were pretty broad. So like this summer I'm going to tweak it a little bit and figure out how we can adjust it to fit the team that changes every year, which I think will be similar as far as our depth of position strengths as to last year. Not the same though. Like last year we were a kind of a 4-3-3 clearly with the guys that we had, and this year might not work out that way. So, but yeah, it simplified things, and practices were able to flow really well, and the players all knew the sessions ahead of time for the most part. And we had some other things too. We had a coach this year that focused on position specific technical training, so he would not come to every session. He was a Messiah grad, played some semi-pro soccer, just still plays today. Really great guy, great player. So he would come like 3 days a week and work with our midfielders for 30 minutes after the session ended, and maybe I'd end it like 10 minutes early, so they could get work in there. And so there was a lot of new things this year that I think helped push us forward a little bit.
I gotta think 30 minutes with your midfielders from a guy from Messiah was probably money in the bank, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just anyhow.
Yep, exactly.
How do you think you did as a coach, knowing your boss might watch this? How do you think you performed?
My big regret was that playoff game against Harrisburg, because we tried something very unusual that we hadn't tried all year, and the reasons made sense, but I think it was a little too much. We had been simple all season, and we had been effective all season with how we had played. And then I tried to change it because they played a really interesting 4-4-2 with how they set up, and it was hard to break down, and to build out against it was really difficult. So we tried something completely out of the box to try to unbalance them, and it ended up like you just said, the word indecision. That's what ended up, I think, happening there because our players were overthinking things. That's the big regret I have. Live and learn, but. Man, I wish I could have that one back and just really go after it in a simpler way. But overall, I was really happy with our model of soccer that we put forth, and how we trained it consistently and got better at it. We moved players around. We made some interesting adjustments personnel-wise that I think really helped, that were a little bit out of the box. And we're going to probably do the same thing next year too, have some ideas looking at the fall roster that we'll have.
That's interesting. I'm serious, because one of the questions I was going to ask later, and we could go into it now, is like I noticed differences, right? Like, so my question was going to be like, what was the difference between that first game against Harrisburg where you tied them 3-3? I think at Harrisburg, maybe? I don't know. I don't remember. At Harrisburg, to then in the tournament lose 3-0, and so you effectively you changed the way you fundamentally played. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah. So we were down 3-0 in that first game, and so that was where like I didn't want to get overconfident looking at that draw, which was a good result away from home, and the fact that we were down late in the game and we were able to fight back into it was a positive. But at the same time, for 80 minutes of that game, we were down 3-0, or not 80 minutes, but we were down
close. We
were down 1-0 after 40 minutes, and then second half they scored 2, I think, quickly. So we're down 3-0 for a half hour in that game. And they have the bulk of the chances in the play, and we were in the game from a possession standpoint, from a I don't know about chance, maybe half chance creation standpoint. We were close to breaking through, but so I kind of was like, hey, let's be overly cautious here and say like we basically could have lost that game 3-0 if it wasn't for kind of some crazy individual efforts that our guys were able to drum up really late in the match. So I wanted to look at it that way rather than, oh, we tied them, let's go out and do that again, and we're going to beat them. Like, no, we have to be creative here. And they had also beaten St. Mary's 4-0, I think, in the last game of the regular season. So they were just on a streak,
flying high. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was kind of like let's respect them and let's try to change how we're going to play against them because they might not expect that change.
Yeah.
There was some of those ideas going through my mind, but in the end, I do regret some of the, I think, overthinking and overanalysis looking back.
That's right. Pep Guardiola overthinks his Champions League semifinals games all the time. So, don't.
We'll see how today goes.
Yeah. I'm excited. That's really interesting because right, you did go the entire season a certain way, and then right or wrong, like it's not a right or wrong argument. It's just like, and what does that do for the players, right? And how do they react? And they didn't react in the way that you anticipated, obviously, or hoped, right? Like so. Okay, so this is interesting to me because you have talked about sort of transitioning to the way you played the last year, at least the way you trained to get the outcomes that you had last year. What would you say are sort of like what things do you need to work on for this upcoming fall, or what did you work on in the spring for this upcoming fall? I guess would be a better way to just ask.
Yeah, that's a question I can answer pretty easily. We took one of the principles of play, one of the three, and we did that the entire spring season for 5 weeks. And so, again, we stuck to about, 8, maybe 10 exercises, a ton of 8v8, 9v9 play. We played some 11v11. We didn't always have 22 players at every session.
Full complement. Yeah. That makes sense.
But we worked on movement, third man movement away from the ball, combinations, interchanges, rotations. We worked on that in just like realistic scenarios. So, just some simple restrictions that you can require as a coach, like third man combinations, in these exercises.
Are the only ones that could score and things like that. Yeah.
So that was what we did, because that's in my mind, that's the hardest part in the game. Would be, you can have a brilliant technical player and a great dribbler, and yet maybe putting him into a role in a team where his movement is opening things up for other players. That's the hard part, I think, to play and to coach. And so we went after that for 5 weeks, and obviously in the fall it'll be 7 or 8 new players joining us, and the ideas will have to be refreshed consistently. But that's what we did, and I think it was helpful at the end of that 5-week period. It was noticeable, I think, that we had focused on that.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. This is something my therapist probably needs to work with me on. So I've been watching a number of games, more than I care to reveal, probably in the 50 to 60 range.
Okay.
Not for nothing. Where I'm not watching the ball. I'm watching the off the ball movement. For everyone is called now the third man, but I'm looking for that pass that no one makes because a guy makes a run to either clear out space or to go to somewhere where they know that if they get to, the ball is going to find its way there. Yeah. And it's startling because you realize like how many people run north south, right? Like that's their only movement. 2, if you're the fourth man off the ball, right? You're the third. Okay, maybe you get 50% of the time the third man's looking for the ball to receive. If you're the fourth man in that possible combination, you're not even moving, right? So that just tells me players aren't even looking at it, which to me is that's the frontier. I think anybody who breaks that becomes and I think to a large extent, I see Messiah do it a ton, right? But that's how they break the mold, right? Like, and how they break teams down so easily. But that's
for sure.
I don't know if that was a confession, like in a good way or a bad way, but all right. So you did have the 3 ties. The one, obviously, Harrisburg, where it sounds like you stumbled upon a tie, right? But take it for what it's worth. So, but you also tied Lycoming, who was really good this year, and then the perennials, Franklin and Marshall. And I'm just wanted to get your thoughts on the no overtimes. Were those? Would you qualify what you had as 3 good ties? Like, you'll take them and walk away, or do you wish? Hey, I wish they all went to overtime because you like the overtime, or what have you?
That's a puzzler on that question. I think
I only ask puzzlers.
I can answer. Well, I'll go in order. I think this is the right order. So I think Lycoming was the first one, maybe.
Yeah.
And we were up 3-1 on that one. So I think with the way they stormed back into that game, I think we were probably happy to have it end there
when it
because
did.
they cranked up the pressure. I mean, they were all over us at the end there, and they scored 2 goals in the last 10 minutes, I think. So that was a good result for us, like, considering the opponent, and but being up 3-1, we should have been able to close that game out more effectively. So there's lessons there. The second one, I think, was that Harrisburg?
Harrisburg was the second one, and then Franklin and Marshall. Yeah.
Harrisburg, that one I would have loved to go to overtime because we had flipped it from the first game against Lycoming. We stormed back. We scored, I think, 3 goals in 9 minutes, in the last 9 minutes to tie it. Yeah. Again, a combination of factors, some fortunate bounces, some great individual plays, and just, confidence and momentum after you score the first one, and then the second one, it's unreal to feel the tangible difference emotionally, and it was really fun to be a part of that. And so we fought back into that one. Would have loved to go to overtime. I think we would have had an advantage there based on momentum. Yeah. Then F&M, that was a really fun end-to-end open game, attacking soccer. But yet a 0-0 result, so obviously some great defending. So yeah, I think both coaches, myself and Dan, would have loved to go to overtime. I think we both would have been happy to do that because it was just a great match, a great soccer match. It wasn't direct and balls in the air all game. It was, counterattacks either way, with passes off of a target, with willing third, and even some fourth man runners. Back to your point with that. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
And they kind of had crushed us last year. It was 3-0, but I think they probably had 85-90% of possession. Yeah. So this year to be able to play them evenly was a step forward in my mind.
Yeah. And they played very differently from the team I watched last year too. Like I thought they were a much more complete soccer team, the way I look at a soccer team. And there's stuff that I don't get, but that's fine. But I thought they were playing some good ball, and to knock out a 0-0 tie against them, I would take that to the bank, right? Like, it's hard against them to keep them off the scoreboard. Like, you still might beat them if you have that thing, but to just keep them off the scoreboard is pretty much a rarity for them. So,
they're a good side.
Yeah. So, I do have to ask you. I want to ask you. So, this is part I don't understand. Do you ever compete in the NCAA tournament or no? Like, even if you won the United East, like, would you go to the NCAA tournament, not the NCCA tournament?
Yeah, we would. That's our goal every year. I mean, we are driven and motivated to go and for the first time win the United East. Now next year it joins with the Colonial States Athletic Conference. I don't know if you followed that at all, but
no.
It's gonna it's not gonna be a major change next year, but the year after we'll be completely joined with them. So it'll be a big conference slate of games, and it'll change some things. But regardless, like the conference that we're in, automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. That is our number one goal from a results standpoint. And so we've never been actually this year, without meaning to, we were kind of in the conversation for an at-large.
Yeah.
I didn't set out to schedule that way. It kind of worked out. We had a couple
bonus
good results.
Yeah.
I think we played 4 regionally ranked teams, and I don't think we lost. I think we lost one of them. We won one and tied the other 2, and might have had a third. I forget. But anyways, we were in that position. That's not generally how I'm going to try to anticipate things working out. So we want to win the conference as an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. However, we're also in the NCCAA, as you know, so that is the secondary opportunity for us to potentially qualify for the NCCAA national tournament.
Yeah,
and obviously we lost in the first round.
But it's not. But you don't exclusively go to the NCCA. You go to the NCCA if you qualify, what have you, and you haven't made the NCAA tournament, right? And the NCCA is the National Christian Colleges Athletic Association.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
But and I noticed this, and I'm not sure if I'm right, so I could be totally wrong, and it's okay if you tell me, like, Paul, go back and do your homework. But you played against Cedarville, which I thought was a Division II school. Is that the way that works in the NCCA AA? That you play, the division doesn't matter? Wow.
Yeah, there's not many Division III teams in the NCCAA. So, so we're generally we played Houghton 1 year in a regional game, and that was a 2 D3s. That was like the year after they left NAIA, or maybe 2 years after. And so so that was the only time. Otherwise, we're playing teams like Cedarville, Roberts Wesleyan, Grace College, NAIA or Division II. So we're aware that the odds are against us, and we're trying to go and get a result as an underdog. So
okay, so I because I looked at Cedarville, I'm like, wow, how do you lose 4-0 in against a team? And then I looked into Cedarville, and then I realized, they're Division II, so I got to believe that they're
good.
And I would think if they're at that level, right, they qualify. They got to be a pretty decent team and all of that. But that was my.
You'd like how they play too. They play a really good style, and they move the ball and combine and build out of the back. And they're a good team. Their field was immaculate, grass field.
Nice.
Awesome. Kind of a Midwest Ohio topography, and it was nice. Yeah.
Very nice. Very good. Hey, a couple more questions. I know you have an important date here in a few, so just want to really quick. Or I already asked it. So one last question. What does your recruiting class look like? And I'm curious, because of sort of the transition you made last year and now this upcoming year, are you looking for different players, like different types, styles of player to fit more what you're trying to do?
The class this year is smaller than normal for us. I would say yes and no to the question about who are we trying to get and has it changed. I think our just standard overall has improved, and so we're looking for players that I would have maybe recruited 2 or 3 years ago. I wouldn't be as interested to go after them because I think our level overall has elevated.
Has jumped.
So it's a little bit more selective. I definitely think that's true. There's some of the qualities that I'm looking for to fit into what we do. I mean, if a player's not willing to run, if an attacking player's not willing to step out and pressure a defender, generally we're trying to do that. And so if a guy's really if the biggest thing I'll say, Coach, is this might apply to a lot of coaches and programs, but for us, if I see like slow transitions in players, I mean they'll be in for a rude awakening in college, and especially in how we're trying to play. So if you lose the ball and you just kind of laugh laugh, but maybe sulk or just make a nice slow run to turn yourself around and get back into some sort of defensive shape. That to me is kind of like, I don't know if they're going to want to like just switch it like crazy like we asked them to do. So a little bit of that, to your question, yes. Looking for certain things, but still looking just for the best overall talent we can find that fits the mission of our team, which we talked about last time. It's a little bit unique.
Yeah.
So right now we got 6 guys committed. Still working on a handful of guys. We have room for 2 more. So looking to bring in. So
that's
8
not
players.
That's not too bad. If you're looking for 8, you got 6 still in the bag, right? Like I think that's
and we'd be fine. We have right now we're 27 on the roster, which is fine. So I'm trying to get the roster a little smaller, actually. And we have a reserve team, JV team, whatever you want to call it. So we do have a place for other players to come and be a part of
play.
It. So.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Very good. All right, Coach. Knowing that we've had plenty of technical issues and knowing that you have a big date to pick up your daughters?
Just one from school early.
Oh, nice. I'll let you go, but really do appreciate the time. The Chargers long sleeve shirt makes me look pretty slim, feeling pretty good about myself. I do appreciate it. And then lastly, I may be knocking on your door in like a month. I'm actually going through your area on my way on business, so might be seeing me knocking on your door to say hello. So,
I'll gladly show you around, get a coffee. Let me know. But thank you for your time and what you do for B3 Soccer.
Oh, thank you very much. All right. If you like this show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. You can also find me on anti-social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks. This is a message from my Chief Marketing